Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
Nothing much. Just same old, same old. Another week in the books. What am I, 10 weeks post-surgery now? Yeah.
Nice.
I'm using the pink bands and the green bands and the pink dumbbells. I've graduated from that. My whole fucking routine has just been completely out of sync since I've had this injury. Like, it's just like I just like have a hard time getting myself motivated to go to the gym or follow any kind of diet. I have not been this off track in probably 8 years. This has been the worst I have been.
Well, it just goes to show that routines are something that are just huge to adherence. Like, one thing falls off of your routine, you can't train an upper body, and it's hard to stay motivated and follow a plan. And you know what I mean?
I'm kind of an all or none sort of person. If I can't go 100%, I don't go at all. That's kind of how I operate. I know it's not the best thing, but I'm all, if I'm all in, I'm fucking all in, or I'm all out. I'm doing my typical thing where I lose weight and get fat at the same time. That's my genetic gift.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, Paul, like all or nothing. And after my inner craniotomy, my brain surgery, I was going to the gym as soon as I could really walk around. I was going to the gym anyway, and I would just like get on a machine and not put a pin in the weights and just move. I don't want to stress myself, but it was just showing up at the gym every day, and for 45 minutes or so kept me sane and kept me in a routine.
I mean, I'm hitting rehab 3 times a week, and I'm hitting the gym. I don't know. I'm probably averaging about 4 days a week, which is, for me, is not much. I go to the gym 7 days a week usually. That's been, although I've been walking and doing some cardio and stuff that I normally don't do. And my diet's been just kind of funky. I'm dumping the tirzepatide. I took my last shot last week. I'm done with that shit. I just don't want to fucking eat. I've been eating maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and then out of those meals, one of them is Chick-fil-A. It's been just trash. I'm not eating near enough protein, and just completely off track.
Are you thinking of going back to that 1 milligram low dose Retta for you?
Yeah, I'm going back to Retta. The funny thing is with the tirzepatide, my glucose control got worse than it was on the Retta. The Retta is more effective.
Yeah.
I have not been able to get my fasting glucose below high 90s since I've been on even with insulin, with the tirzepatide, and on the Retta it was consistently in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's got to be the glucagon agonist.
Yeah.
That's got to be a thing.
It seems to me that everybody who talks about doing some Retta and then going to something else always goes back to Retta at some point.
Yeah, I mean it's. I'm telling you what, they've got when Lilly brings that shit to market, they're going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Speaking of Retta,
free stock tips.
Free stock tips. I mean, it's the closest thing to a miracle drug I've ever seen. I mean, it just, I feel like I talk about it way too much, and I'm not trying to hype it up or anything, but it's been pretty profound, the impact I've seen on blood panels with people. Just the changes in glucose control, the improved A1C, the improved lipids, the improved C-reactive protein. I've even seen guys improve their liver markers while on it, which is fucking crazy, man. It's just even the low dose, like 1 milligram, I don't think really smashes your appetite. You can still eat on 1 milligram. It's just enough to kind of cut the edge off the shitty cravings. You know what the funny thing with the tirzepatide, and it could be just psychology more than anything I've noticed with me is that the that my appetite, while it's like way lower, I still like have this urge to smash shitty food, and I didn't have that on Retta. So I don't know. It could be all in my fucking head.
Seems like Retta's got a good balance of the three facets that put it all together. It's not like overbearing like the tirzepatide for appetite suppressant. It's kind of a nice balance the whole way through.
Or you could say the same thing about the semaglutide or the GLP-1. It's not as aggressive at like slowing gastric emptying as that drug.
Right. Well, I believe those don't have the GIP, so they're not as strong for gastric, the gastric inducing peptide.
Well, that's been the big thing this week too. All the FDA has been coming after all the gray market peptide companies, so they're smashing everything right now. They're coming through and shutting all of them down. It seems like. So that's going on right now. I'm sure the pharma companies don't want that market to be out there when they have $1 billion industry in front of them. It's been pretty fucking wild. They came in and shut down several of the big ones. I don't want to mention names because we're not allowed to talk about them on YouTube, but that is happening.
Yeah.
There's also been, I mean, I've seen this shit before in the past where they come through and just shut a bunch of people down and arrest people. It seems like we cycle through this every few years. Like we're in the masteron shortage era now too. Like there's zero masteron around, or if you can find it, it's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
It's like incredibly expensive now. I never thought I'd see the day when masteron was more expensive than Primo and more faked than Primo. I had multiple people send me tests of masteron where it was test propionate. And one dude sent me a test where it was supposed to be dosed at 200 milligrams per ml, and it was like 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think guys are just, cutting the doses back. Somebody said mass prop is still around. Yeah. The two of the people that I saw that send their mass prop off for testing, it was test prop. It wasn't masked.
Yeah.
So don't be so sure.
Well, you should be able to tell pretty quickly too. I mean, if you're taking a decent dose.
I had a guy that was not making progress on his cut and was bloated and having estrogen issues. And I'm like, man, something's not fucking right. You might want to check things out. And his masteron was not masteron.
In that case, what would you do? Just go switch to all Primo?
I mean, even Primo is kind of hard to source right now. It seems like everybody's running EQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like good old EQs come back in business. I guess that makes Masteron the new Gucci steroid.
Well, I either got really lucky or I got ripped off. But the source is trusted. So
yeah.
But if I'm holding a lot of water lately, so that you say that out loud and it makes me want to have something tested.
You can't fake trend, that is for sure.
No.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of faith in Masteron right now. It's there's been quite a bit of it out there that's fake. I've been running into, so just a heads up for the people that are listening. Just keep an eye out. If you're watery on your Masteron, there's probably something sus going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could use EQ for somewhat to some points as a good substitute if you need to add a second anabolic.
I mean, in the early 2000s, I mean, like from like late 90s, early 2000s up till 2015 or so, nobody ran ran Primo or Masteron. People ran EQ on contest prep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the go-to. The go-to. What's up, Roman?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We were just talking about the masteron shortage. I never thought I'd see a day where masteron was more expensive than Primabol and faked. I've had run into multiple masteron fakes in the last couple of weeks.
Really? I haven't noticed
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I think it's just here in the States. There's been issues here in the States. You just can't get it anywhere right now. Somebody's asking what mask is being faked with. The ones I saw were test prop. I saw multiple people send me their test results. I posted that thing up on Instagram the other day about looking out for fake masks, and I had multiple people DM me with lab results from fake or underdose masteron.
Yeah. Well, again, you should notice somewhat to a point. I mean, if you're thinking that you're adding in 400 milligrams of masteron and it's test prop and you jack up your testosterone that much, you're probably going to get some water retention effect.
Yeah, you're gonna be nice and full.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll start faking masks with Primo instead of the other way around.
Probably EQ would be the thing that Marty likes your mug, Roman. What is it? Oh, Darth Vader. I had that exact same mug.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at, but I do have that mug somewhere.
Hey, Roman, I got a quick question for you. Do you use L-carnitine ever? You a fan of it? You can't hear me.
We can't hear you, man. Mm-mm.
You seem really light, like I almost heard you. Knowing him, he doesn't need anything else for a fat burner, but some people use it for that androgen receptor sensitivity aspects as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's very muffled and quiet, man. Yeah, I don't.
How about now? Now?
Yeah, there we go. We're good.
Oh, good. All right.
Yes.
So yes.
Dave was asking if you run L-carnitine and what do you think of it?
I use it. Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You think the juice is worth the squeeze is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I can feel it working, but it only works if I take it just like that. Like in the morning, fasted, I don't feel anything from it. But if I take it with insulin before training, I think I notice a difference.
Really? In what sense? Like, just you feel like you're burning through a little more fat, or?
Yeah, I feel it over time. I stay leaner than when I don't use it.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Are you doing sub-Q or IM injections with it?
IV.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, that's one way to do it.
That's what
I knew there was
a lot of people are doing that, man, and everybody said that was the best way. So
that would terrify me.
The product I use says IV.
Oh wow.
Well, I was talking to our buddy there, Joshua Perry, the other day, and he was saying that they use L-carnitine intravenously for I think it's kidney or liver health as a treatment.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I didn't.
It's called Nevro-carnit. Nevro, like in kidney.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Kidney. He was saying that some people use that to help kidney health. Yeah.
The only other L-carnitine experience I have is when we were looking at buying into a anti-aging franchise. We went out to Florida for their pitch, and part of the deal was to get a complimentary IV treatment in one of their clinics, and L-carnitine was part of that cocktail they gave us.
Oh wow!
So I knew there was IV use and IV applications, and I had to do a little research before I screwed myself up here.
Right.
Don't ever do a sub-Q, Roman, just FYI.
Yeah, Mike got an infection, pretty bad one.
I've never done it sub-Q. Never.
Yeah, I've heard it's a no with L-carnitine. I don't really use L-carnitine that much. I had a bad experience with it too, where I got an infection. on not my I guess my prep for Masters USA's. I had a pretty bad infection on my leg. It was nasty. It was cellulitis and it looked just like yours, Mike. Except it was on my leg.
Yeah,
my glute, really.
2 years ago, my last shot, like a week out from my show, I got my my one ass cheek just completely inflated. It was a pain. Of course, my last shot of prep, and had a poor reaction, and my ass cheek was like this big right on the side.
I'm trying to remember who posted it. I saw. I'm gonna see if I can find it. There was a picture somebody posted of an amateur show where a dude had just a fucking blown up glute injection. It was bad. Oh, here it is. Let me bring this up. This one was this is why I stop injections a week out from my show, because I don't want to get on stage and have this. It would suck to be on prep and have this happen. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not even inflated. That's just like a huge knot right there on the top of his skull.
Yeah, that's an infection.
Yeah.
That's an abscess.
I've had some sites get angry on me, but I've never had anything like that.
Yeah.
I had that one time on my leg, and I ended up having to get it cut open and drained and all that stuff. It was, remember, I woke up, like I had like a little lump one day, and then the next day I woke up and it was like all like necrotic. It was all like black and blue and just swollen like a golf ball in my leg. I was like, oh, this isn't good. Probably should get that looked at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Someone in the comments said, Lance, that thing. You could probably get a pay-per-view going on that. People want to watch that.
Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah, I remember in the old days we would just fucking jab a needle in it and just drain it out ourselves, and doctor's like, don't do that. That's the worst fucking thing you can do. That infection could spread because it's in a pocket. Sometimes they need to drain it. It's just how it is. Yeah, Dr. Pimple Popper. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it feels like there's no rhyme or reason. Like Mike says, sometimes you just get an angry shot that shows up and irritates.
I think I'm trying to think, in 30 years of off and on steroid abuse, I put that slash in there. I've only had 2 infections that I can think of. Well, no, 3 if you count the L-carnitine. So I would say, thousands of shots in, that's probably pretty good odds, especially considering that I never use an alcohol pad.
Really?
No.
I do the same routine. Wipe the cap, wipe the skin, everything.
Every good bodybuilder doesn't use the alcohol pad. We just fucking go for it.
Yeah. Then again, my growth hormone shot at the end of the night, I'm lazy. I just poke it and done.
Dude, this is terrible. I remember in the late 90s, like there was like the whole war on drugs shit, and you couldn't buy needles anywhere because they were not available. It was illegal to buy needles here in the USA. I don't remember when they changed that. Maybe it was in the early 2000s. I don't remember, but I remember we would take the needles and boil them and soak them in alcohol and reuse them because you couldn't find them anywhere.
Oh wow!
We would have to get them. We'd get these big 20 gauge 2-inch, or I think they were 1.5 from the farm store that they would use, like the vet supply places. That's what we would get, and that's what we would use back then.
What was the gauge on those? 20,
I think, or maybe it was 18. They were fucking huge, man. I remember those things were like harpoons.
Yeah.
The oil went in easy.
Yeah. You fill real fast with those, but man, I cannot imagine doing an injection with an 18 or a 20 gauge needle.
Oh man, it was wild back in the day. I do kind of laugh about the masteron shortage thing because like guys are so spoiled of being able to get whatever they want. I remember it being like you just took whatever you could find. You didn't have a choice back in the day. There was just not ample stuff available. It's whatever the bro at the gym had in his bag. I'm like, all right, I guess this is going to be a Anadrol and Decacycle.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you didn't even know what the tabs were.
Nope.
You think they're D-ball maybe or Anadrol, who knows?
Nope. I remember my first cycle in college. I think it was D-ball. I'm not sure, but a guy handed me a bag of pills and said they were steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Now it's like the Amazon. You can just get anything real quick.
Somebody said, is it true that China is supposed to stop shipping base supplies beginning in July? I don't know. I haven't heard that. I mean, there's the trade war going on with China, and there's downstream repercussions of that. There's also, I've heard that the customs has really cranked up their scrutiny of packages now, so they're catching a lot more packages coming into the U.S. because they're looking for fentanyl. But you know, the downstream effect of it is, the raws are getting snagged too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not shipping those things in plain view of the government for sure. That stuff's not being manifested in law.
I don't. Yeah. Look, Dean said, seeing plenty of test and mass cycles being tested when you look at someone's total testosterone. Yeah, dude, it's the same shit. I think one of my clients just consulted with Dean and had fake masteron. I've had multiple people.
Yeah.
Joshua Perry, it's a black market, relax, guys. I'd heard some story too. I don't know if it was true, but one of the places that was manufacturing the raws was making fentanyl as well and got shut down in China. So I don't know. We've seen these cycles before. Like I remember in the early 2000s, everything was coming out of Mexico, and then that dried up, and then it went to Europe, and then that dried up. It just you cut one head off, another one pops up somewhere else eventually.
Yeah, you'll always be able to find what you're looking for. It's just going to be a little bit more effort right now.
Makes me happy. I'm just on I'm living the TRT life now. I'm just boring TRT. God, this is the longest I have been on. This is the longest I have been on just low dose testosterone in forever. I mean, it's been close to a year, almost a year of just being on test. Maybe 6 months out of the last year, I actually ran any anabolics, if I can speak. But
do you know what your testosterone levels are?
No clue.
No, you don't check when you're on TRT what that's done for you?
Nah, I always kind of felt like unless you think something's suspect, that checking your test levels is probably a waste of money.
Right.
I mean, if you're on testosterone, they're going to be high.
Well, the only time I'd want to know is if I'm going to be on long-term TRT for a little while, that I have it kind of dialed into a spot. But then again, you can go off of how you feel a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know my body pretty well now. Like I know when my estrogen's getting high. I know when my estrogen's getting low. I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
I know when my testosterone's in range and when it's not.
And what do you run for TRT? What's your couple hundred?
200 milligrams when I remember to take it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think when the last time I took a shot was. It's probably been a week and a half. It's probably time. Somebody said I should have Dave Cross on. I would love to talk to Dave. I've never reached out to him. I don't know if he'd come on or not.
Yeah, I think he does. He's an expert witness overseas on.
Yeah, he seems to be pretty plugged in with what's going on with the UGL market. I don't know shit, man. Guys love to tell me rumors. They love to DM me shit, and I'm just repeating rumors I've heard. I'm not like plugged in or anything. Mm-hmm. I'm just spreading rumors. Yes, there's a masteron shortage right now. You can't find it anywhere. It's really hard to find. When will it get sorted? We have no idea. Time to button up the EQ.
I mean, it's just a rumor and speculation, but from what I've heard is that things are going to be turning around in the next month or so. Most likely, there's going to be more supply, but I've heard the opposite as well.
Who knows? We have no idea.
All I know, stocked up and ready to go. Nothing's holding my prep back.
Just run Tren. That's it. Just more Tren, as Josh said. Run all the Tren. It's funny because like people are all the time like getting on me about the masteron versus primo thing, which is just nutty to me. Like I don't care. Just run one or the other. It doesn't. Whatever works for you.
Run whatever you know is real.
I prefer primo.
Yeah,
Me too.
Oh, sorry.
Do you still use Roman any masteron, or you just do like straight primo on your preps? Or do you do like a mixture of DHT, the masteron, and primo?
At the end, I think my best looks came from test, masteron, equipoise, and superdrol.
Mm.
Yeah, that'll make you hard and full.
Yeah, no trend there. No trend. Only those 4.
Yeah,
I like masteron on contest prep a lot, and it drives me out really. But I don't like running it year round because I feel like, I mean, maybe it's just in my fucking head, but I feel like it drives my joints out really bad.
Mm.
Like I get really creaky on it. Like I get too dry.
Yeah.
I kind of look. It makes me look more flat.
Yeah. In
some way.
feel like,
I don't know. Primo makes me like fuller.
Yeah, Primo does make me fuller. I mean, it could be just in my head too. That's kind of been my anecdotal observation. EQ is fantastic, but I worry about, and I know there's, I don't know, I wish I should get Dean to jump on, but like I know there's been some speculation or even evidence that EQ might be nephrotoxic in some manner. I remember seeing that old study, but I think that was, I don't know, it was on rabbits, if I recall. It was from the 70s where it was EQ was kidney toxic.
I can tell you my kidneys are completely fine, and I've been
it's EQ in rabbits.
I've been running primo for,
sorry Amy, I'm going to let you drive,
since like 2010.
Nice.
Nothing drives my blood pressure up like EQ. The last time I tried to take it, man, it was just terrible.
Yeah, I have the same thing. He said it's increased oxidative stress in general. That's why you need to take breaks periodically. Rice 41, why are people so dogmatic? Mast and Primo and all AASs are tools in the tool. I mean, that's kind of what I always say. Like, I just don't understand the whole, it's like picking a team. It's kind of silly to me. Just run what works and makes sense. I kind of like
tribal by nature.
What's that?
I said humans are tribal by nature.
Yeah, we are. We got to be on Club A versus Club B, and this person's right, or I'm right, this person's wrong. That whole shit. Like, I just don't give a fuck. Honestly, if you can't get big on test and GH, you're probably not going to be big on anything else either.
Yeah. Well, I find it silly to call one better than the other. I think there's a better application at each time for one or the other. Like me personally, I run more Primo in the off season, as a anabolic to help me grow more. I seem to do better with that. And then I just add in Masteron for the cosmetic effect towards mid to end of my prep. That seems to work well for me. So to say one's better than the other, I don't think is necessarily always true.
I've always told people, if you like it and it likes you, run it. I mean, that's pretty smart approach.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my thought process, the Trend Tribe. I mean, Trend. I saw Rice 41 up there saying that he's scared to death of Trend. I feel like everybody should ride the Trend Lightning at least once just to see.
Ride the Lightning at least once.
It's like how do you know what reps in reserve is when you've never gone to full failure, right?
Sure.
And Trent is a unique experience. I don't know. I think my trend days are done with. What were you saying, Amy? Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Oh no, I was just joking about one of your stories. Like, how do you know what trend feels like until you flip over a grocery cart?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a pretty mellow and easygoing guy, and trend makes me not so mellow and easygoing. Why do you not run it anymore, Roman?
Because every time I start taking it, even a little bit, I start holding water.
Oh, really?
I look really good. And then I'm like, let's put some trend in the last 4 weeks or something like that. And all of a sudden, I get a little bit of swollen ankles, a little bit of less definition in my pecs, and then I drop it, and the definition comes back, and the water disappears again.
That's interesting. Maybe
I tried it 3 times.
Maybe a prostaglandin response, like some sort of immune response. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Or what's it called? Prolactin?
Potentially. I'm going to see if Dean wants to jump on the live. Dean, I'm sending you a message, man.
I remember our Justin Harris said the same thing about trend making him hold water.
Yeah, I've never experienced that. Trend makes me dry and hard, and I look like $1 million on trend, but I cannot sleep, and I'm a complete ball of anxiety.
I'm saying once you get past a certain dose, though, that goes away, because I'll hold water and get weird on big doses of trend too. The low dose.
I tried running the low dose last year, like Steve was talking about. I think, what was he saying, 10 milligrams a day? And even then, it fucked my sleep up.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I just did the last 2 years. I've just done 20 milligrams a day. About 140 a week, and that's about all I've come to find out I can handle. And it's not like my sleep gets impacted. I just get really short-tempered, to be completely transparent. That and a little withdrawn, and it's just not worth the added stress, the added mental mind F, to be honest. So, but low dose, the 140 milligrams a week is pretty much perfect for a cosmetic look for me. I get exactly what I want out of it. Any more seems to just give me kind of mental issues, to be honest. I just get really short-tempered.
I was laughing. I was talking with a friend about trend, and my daughter overheard me, and I was saying, I don't think it really, I don't really get mean or anything on it like other people do. And my daughter was like, is that the stuff you took when you were on your contest prep and you were acting like an asshole every day? And I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that was.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some people can't notice it either. They don't notice that they're being short, until you come off and you're like, yeah, I was a prick, huh?
I do have a tendency to tell people to get the fuck off of machines at the gym when they're lingering a little too long looking at their phone. And I need it.
Good. I just slide right in. I just tell them I'm working in with you. They usually don't debate.
Donnie wanted to know, how long after you stopped the trend did you notice the water retention go away? He says I'm 3 weeks in.
What ester is he taking? Acetate, ananthate.
I think most people take ACE, right?
It disappeared within a week.
Mm-hmm.
If it's acetate.
Yeah, you're the first person I've heard that started retaining water on it. I never really, that's like the last thing I've ever had anyone come across with Trenbolone. Usually it's the last thing to help dry them out and harden them up.
He said acetate. He's on. Yeah, so it should clear within a week or two.
Doesn't take a lot to get that look too, that trend look.
Yeah. Well, I learned that from Paul. The 20 milligrams a day was just I started there one time on a couple preps ago, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I was doing that before Steve talked about the 10 milligram thing. Like, I'm like, let's see what we can get away with and still get some benefit from it.
Mm.
But yeah. Oh, speaking of Steve, he had his baby. If he's listening, congrats.
Yeah, it's an active baby week. There are 3 people that I know in the fitness world who had their babies this past week, all within a day of each other.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of them. Yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, like every day, like somebody just had a baby. They all had girls too. 3 girls.
Wasn't that the thing with steroids? Doesn't it make it more likely to have girls than?
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's just a myth, right?
Is it? I don't know.
I don't know. Ben Pekulski had a son.
Yeah, I do think there is something small behind it that does. You do typically have women or daughters frequently. I think Dean actually explained it one time on one of their podcasts. But I've heard the same thing. It seems like everybody does have girls.
I'm looking it up. We're going to find out. We'll see.
ChatGPT's got to say.
I sent Dean a link, but I don't know if he's listening. Yeah, it's okay. So here's what it says: the common myth that anabolic steroids may increase the likelihood of having a female babies. This is based on the idea that steroids can lower sperm count and quality and may disproportionately affect the Y chromosome. However, in theory, this is not a proven medical fact. So there you go.
There's another theory that when your testicles shrink, they're closer to the body, and the less robust sperm, the male ones die off.
I mean, I had one of each while I was on. That's another thing. Dudes think they're going to be infertile while they're on, and then they end up getting their lady pregnant. And they're like, what the fuck? I thought I couldn't have a kid. Like, nope. Oh, there's Dean. What's up, Dean?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've never had you on this mayhem before. This is just a bunch of idiocy on here. We need somebody smart to keep us straight.
Well, I can stay on for half an hour, so I just popped in. So I guess it's going to be interesting what comments come true.
Yeah, somebody was asking about, is it true that steroids make you more likely to have girls for babies? Then we've heard that myth.
It is just a myth, but with men, you are the one who determines the sex of the baby, because obviously females are XX or XY, so whatever way your genetics split off when they fuse with the egg, whether it's the X half or the Y half, determines the sex of the baby. There could be probably something, if you looked a bit in depth, like Amy said, surrounding sperm health, because obviously DNA fragmentation is something that guys never pay attention to when they have a baby. So obviously to conceive, you have to have a high level of sperm. You have to have good motility, which is the tail. And then you need good morphology, which is the head. And then, not to scare guys that are on, but we often get myths of like, should you conceive when you're on anabolic steroids? As in, like, are you going to cause birth defects or things like that? One of the risks of when you're on is obviously that high oxidative stress that's occurring. And what can happen is the DNA in the head of the sperm can become damaged or goes under oxidative stress. You know, you're passing on faulty DNA that the egg can accommodate for a fragmentation of about 30%. And then after that, it will abort the fetus. So you have to weigh that up if you're on a cycle and you are actively trying to conceive and you're using something like HMG or recombinant FSH. The fragmentation of your sperm is a big thing that you have to think about.
Well, I had 2 kids while I was on. They're both teenagers now. They seem somewhat normal. That's debatable, though.
I mean, I brought up when we were at the enhanced games most people never think about this, but obviously what I was talking about there with drug actions and all coming back to genetics. When you have a child and you've used AAS, obviously there's a level of epigenetics that have been switched on or they're being expressed. So like I brought up at the enhanced games of there you go, my chromosome shrinking, with the sort of outcome that happens after taking PEDs. Are you influencing the athletic ability of your child, or are you setting them up to be an even better athlete from your PED use that we never actually even consider? That you're like breeding these children to speak that are going to be superior athletes even without touching any PEDs.
Well, I bred my son to play video games, so I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. He did not get the athletic genes. He's on his computer 24/7, so I didn't get the super mutant athlete. I got the computer scientist in the making. My daughter is a great athlete, though. She's a pretty good athlete, pretty strong, built like an ox. Yeah, that's interesting that you could potentially be making super mutants for children.
No.
Yeah, without to make like, and then all of a sudden it sort of changes the term of like fake natty, where you're like, well, your parents used AAS and that's the only reason why you're a good athlete. And with how society is moving, I can see that slowly becoming an excuse.
That's interesting. Somebody was asking earlier, I was going to ask you about this one too. With trend making people absolutely insane, what is the deal? Like it seems like I used to be able to tolerate it well when I was younger. No problems. And it's like now that I'm older, I can't even touch it. Like even just this like small doses, like Steve was talking about, like 10 milligrams, it just absolutely wrecks me psychologically.
I think because of just the very strong androgen receptor binding affinity. Obviously, it's a very flat molecule with the three double bonds. And one thing that obviously I've started to really think more carefully about is we're always focusing on androgen receptor numbers, androgen receptor binding, and all that sort of exotic things. But actually what happens when the actual molecule binds to the androgen receptor, it creates its own complex that moves into your nucleus, to your genetics, and it binds to an androgen response element. And depending on the shape of that complex, it can dock into different response elements and different parts of your genetics get expressed. So perhaps for some people, it'll start to see changes to their neurochemistry, especially if you have androgen receptors binding inside your brain cells. And now your neurochemistry towards dopamine and serotonin changes. So normally we view like dopamine as being the very motivating neurotransmitter. So we view serotonin as being this sort of feel good, mellow you out. But if you've got too much serotonin in your brain, that tends to drive aggressiveness. So that's sort of that serotonin syndrome that happens if you take too much 5-HTP before going to bed. You wake up the next morning with quite an aggressive mood. That imbalance, potentially what's happened when you take something like tren is it's swung, you've gone very dopamine dominant, and normally what happens is you swing in reverse, your brain tries to balance out too high in dopamine, it goes your way with serotonin. Because really in theory your brain should be 50-50 serotonin, dopamine, and it leverages slightly higher, slightly lower depending on what your brain is requiring, whether to have you motivated, to have you feel relaxed. So it's probably the sleep aspect with tren, in my view, is the dopamine side. You end up being completely driven where your brain just can't switch off. You have this hyper arousal model prior to going to sleep. And that was the whole thing about when I was saying taking high dose magnesium helps COMT to clear out that dopamine. But then COMT also clears out a lot of other things in your body, like estrogen, like other chemical compounds that it might actually not then focus on clearing your dopamine out of your brain, just builds higher and higher and higher. And that's where basically what paranoia is, in theory, is a lot of dopamine in your brain.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know, man. There are quite a few dudes I can think about on social media that are taking trend and are super fucking paranoid and acting irrational. I think there are several that come to mind.
Any that eat liver?
Well, that one, yeah, that guy. I think that's methamphetamines too. Looked like he went on a meth bender and went to Austin to take out Joe Rogan. I don't know what the hell's going on with that guy. Everything, but
Now, Dean, would that be kind of a similar reason where, like, someone myself, when I take like a 19 Nord like Deca, and I've used that in the past, I got paranoia as well. It's pretty much the same action going on.
Yeah, and I mean also what slows COMT down in our body is, in theory, they think androgens might also do it as well. So androgens will slow it down, but also estrogen, if you've got too much estrogen, it slows the enzyme down because it's trying to handle that bottleneck. And that's where classically guys always developed back in like the 90s paranoia or mental disturbance when they took really high dose EQ because the drug stayed in your system for so long. EQ has some estrogenic activities, or that we're sort of postulating as some estrogenic or estrone activity. And now you've got a guy who's taking like 1,000 milligrams of EQ on top of 1,000 milligrams of tests, and the brain chemistry starts to slowly move into this really dopamine-driven state. They've got high estrogen from potentially not using an AI in the off-season alongside the EQ, and their brain is pretty much heightened in a state where everyone's out to get them is probably the easiest way to describe it.
Wow, you're accurately describing a couple people I know. I can think of a handful. That explains a lot. Yeah, it's a strange conundrum with bodybuilding because I think it attracts dudes that are already a little off. To be honest with you, guys that are probably prone to mental illness, or dudes that are just not quite all there, and then you combine these high doses with stuff, and then you end up. I mean, how many times have we seen these guys have complete fucking meltdowns on social media? It's like I can think of a handful of them off the top of my head, just like complete paranoid, just mean, awful, and you could see them just sort of unwind and implode on social media. You can see it happening in real time. It's usually on contest prep too.
It's and what I'm really scared about, I think, moving into the future is, I wouldn't say kids, like that would be a bit extreme, but very young people. Like obviously we've seen that I can't even remember his name, it just popped up in my squares, that young LA athlete that now has had sepsis and whatever else. You have guys that are looking at what is being educated, if we want to be nice about what drugs are being used in society now, as opposed to this sort of underground hidden scene. I mean, I've said it before, when I started bodybuilding back in 2010, 2011, in even a small country like Ireland, it was like it was who you knew as opposed to what you knew. Like it was, and then you had to have sort of proved that you could enter into that sort of hidden society.
Yep.
Otherwise you were told, get out of the gym or get out of wherever you're trying to find something for whatever. Now you just go on the internet, you just find whatever in about 10 minutes. So what we have to be very careful is we have all these young people that are seeing these drugs being glorified, even if it is safe use or a more appropriate stack design or whatever, trying to be clever about it. Brains are still going to end up mush if they don't understand what they're doing, or they don't allow their brain to naturally develop until they get into their like mid-20s on average, is what we think the human adult brain fully matures. Well, then anyway. And they're exposing their brain to such a high amount of dopaminergic activity that whenever they stop using these things, this is my scary process around it, is that your brain operates off voltages. It operates off electricity, basically. The nerves fire from an electrical voltage. That voltage goes higher and higher the more exposure it has to a neurotransmitter. So if you're flooding your brain with a lot of neurotransmitter, the electrical voltage for your brain to get excited goes higher and higher. So now you need more stimulation to feel the effect. And then when they stop using these things, they feel like their brain is broken. And then you look at their blood work, their total test and everything, LH, FSH in their bloods looks perfect. And the general practitioner's thinking, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, or maybe you're depressed. Here's an SSRI or an SSDRI where they're doing serotonin and dopamine. That what's really happened there is their brain chemistry is completely changed. That neuron threshold is sitting up here. We can't even figure out how to measure that in someone's brain. It's literally you just have to wait and see. Abstain from high dopamine activities for the brain to calm down back to where it was previously. These guys are walking around with like mushed brains where the only thing that they can logically think is if when I took steroids, my brain worked fine and I had libido, they go back taking steroids. And it becomes what I think is probably going to be at some point recognized as some form of steroid addiction because their brain chemistry can't operate without it. It's not a physical dependency, but their neurochemistry, their dopamine, serotonin just can't operate without it.
I think a lot of young guys too, at least I see the young like social media influencer types, they're also living a party lifestyle too and probably mixing alcohol and recreational. Yeah, right there. Recreational drugs with it too.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Especially with more people using, at least in the state I live in, so much recreational marijuana at a really young age. You know, I think that does the same thing. I mean, if you start using marijuana when you're in your teens before your brain is fully developed, like I think it just makes it that much harder to feel normal without that sensorium disruptor, you know. And I think the same thing can be said for taking steroids. You know, like you said, Dean, you get addicted to the feeling that you have when you're on it. Now, if that's addiction, right?
And it's when I have consults with guys who are in their mid-20s who have done things like this and they're seeking answers because they've gotten no medical answers. And then I'm trying to explain to them the complexity of what's going on in their brain. There are ways to try and mitigate some of the effects that are happening at that moment in time in their brain. But a lot of it is pure patience and trying to reset the brain like a dopamine detox, if you want to even call it. And that's exactly it. Don't do drugs. Or don't do drugs unless you fully understand the outcomes of what's going to happen or have an exit strategy. You know, most guys who have gone to a very high level understand some of the risks that come with the neurotoxicity and everything else, or to the HPTA dysfunction that they're going to require TRT. Like grown adults who have entered into that scene knowing the risks as opposed to 17, 18-year-olds just doing it because they've seen some video on TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah, I mean it's a wild ride. I mean, we accept a lot of risk when we do this crazy sport. I'll tell you, I've been on, I was talking about it before you came on, I've been on mostly just TRT, 200 milligrams. I haven't even been running growth hormones, 200 milligrams of test this last year. And while I kind of miss how I look, this is the best I've felt in a long time. Like all my health markers are back in line. Psychologically, I feel great. I just, sleep is improved. Everything is just improved.
And I mean, that's for a long time, one of the messages I was trying to get across was, and obviously I went back last year, I retired in 2022, and then I had that like what if driving my ego to go back and compete again to prove about the celiac. After that, being able to dissolve that ego of being able to look at your physique and go, okay, I'm never going to be as ripped or whatever as I was as a competitive bodybuilder. You can still do some interesting things, but you're going nowhere near the risks that you would have taken as a competitor. You're still going to look better than probably 95, 96% of the population with just TRT if you know how to train and eat and whatever else.
Yeah, and I've always run relatively safe cycles. I mean, I pretty much just test Primo and GH is all I've ever really run. I did get aggressive with doses when I got my pro card, but and I've taken long periods of just TRT. I'll run TRT for 5-6 months, long periods of time. I seem to be able to hold. Well, I'm recovering from the shoulder surgery. What I've noticed is like once you have that size accumulated, it seems like you can hang on to it. People don't believe me, but you can hang on to it pretty well with just TRT.
Yeah, I've said it before. I think a lot of what happens, I believe, when someone gains size from taking high dosages, two things. It was never muscle mass to begin with, and it was fluid and glycogen supercompensation. And then the other part is they don't know how to train when they are technically off or on just a high TRT dose. So they try and go in and train with the same volume, the same intensity, and their body just can't recover. And then they end up getting completely demotivated and either still try and train that way and keep mashing themselves into the ground even further. Then their appetite starts moving on them. They start to see all these negative consequences from trying to train the same way as when they were on, as opposed to adapting, whether it's less work volume, less work sets, but still the same intensity to speak, that you're still stimulating what you built in the first place.
Or that training wouldn't even work without the steroids because steroids hide mistakes. All of a sudden, yeah. And then they go back on, so the training works again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've always found this is a weird effect that I've noticed with me is my strength seems to go up when I come down to TRT. I don't know what the fuck that's about. And I've talked to multiple people that have had that same experience.
Yeah. Probably because you're taking so much stuff that you're so toxic, you have to, once your body detoxes.
Now, with that said, I'm already planning my next go this fall. We'll see when I'm recovered from the surgery. I'm already thinking ahead. I don't know, probably stupid at my age. I do want to do one pro show.
Yeah, let's do one together.
I'm either going to do the Tampa or the Chicago next year. I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
Do something like exotic, Japan, something like that.
Well, the Masters Olympia is there. I'd have to qualify. I think we lost Dean.
There is a regular Japan show always in like November.
Yeah, man, I would love to go to Japan. That's an expensive trip, though.
Like you don't have any money.
Gonna get some more super chats.
I'm gonna set up a GoFundMe to send me to Japan like everybody else does.
Yeah, one way ticket.
What is up with dudes? I've seen more of this. No worries, Dean. Thank you for coming on for a few minutes.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you.
What is up with these dudes setting up GoFundMes for their contest prep? I've seen guys doing that lately.
I don't know.
They just started an OnlyFans site.
Yeah.
I'm like, just do like bros did back in the old days. Just sell some drugs. That's how you fund your contest prep. That's not advice. That's a joke. All right, we want to get some questions.
Yes, I have a whole bunch flagged. Let's start with the one that was a donation. Thank you so much, Devin. My coach dropped me from 2,500 calories to 1,800 calories to start cutting. I just got out of a bulk 3 weeks ago at 3,500 calories. Will I lose much muscle in a 600 calorie deficit? Currently taking 525 tests, 350 EQ, and 70 tren.
I go back and forth on this. I've been working with, I say this every week, but I've been working with AJ Sims as far as learning how he preps people. And he has a very different approach from what Justin does and what I've used in the past. I usually slowly pull people down and only cut food when I need to. AJ likes to go hard in the beginning and then put food back in later.
You just pulled a quick one on me last week. Same way. You pulled down my food like wicked low last week.
Yeah, and then he puts food back in and fills people back out. He said he didn't used to do it that way. He said he changed it. And another interesting thing, I've hopefully I'm not giving too much away with AJ, but what he'll like to do is like he gets people lean, like he pushes them hard like halfway through the prep, and then he'll take a complete like week off from prep and put some Anadrol in, put some food back in, have them drop cardio, and then go back into it. Roman, you were going to contribute something. What is your approach?
No, my question for this guy was, did his coach also add or increase his cardio and or add or increase his fat burners? If yes, I would think that's a little much
to start.
1,000 calorie drop might not be that bad, because I like to cut hard in the beginning as well, just like AJ. That's what I've just learned. But if his coach put all the aces on the table, like right in the beginning, then I would have a problem with that.
Yeah, that would be my worry, is if you mash the gas pedal too hard down right out of the gate, where do you go when you get stuck?
Yeah.
Maybe this guy can add that. Did he increase or add any cardio? And what about the fat burners? If it's just 1,000 calorie drop, I wouldn't worry. And his question was, will he lose muscle? You will not lose muscle if you don't start feeling pity for yourself and train with less intensity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're all of a sudden like, oh, I'm not eating anymore, and you're making up in your head that you're weaker and then using less weight, you're obviously going to lose muscle because you're taking away the stimulus. But just because you're eating less shouldn't automatically result in a loss of muscle if your training stays the same.
Yeah. I will warn people, and people will panic. They'll see maybe rep strength go down where you lose a rep or two on exercises. That's just glycogen depletion.
Yeah.
And it's mostly on sets that have multiple reps.
Yeah.
For me, 20 rep sets might drop a few reps. 15 rep sets, 12 to 15 might, one or two, like you said. But if I do a 6 rep set that doesn't take a lot of endurance, they stay the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make a good point. I think a lot of people forget it's not just the gear and the food that's going to help you retain the muscle, but good quality training consistently and recovery. All those things are going to help retain muscle, having that stimulus of training as well. So you're right. Like if you start training like a baby, it's not going to be the thing you want to do. Don't rely on the drugs, rely on the training as well.
Sharp Home Solutions, he said, pushing too hard out of the gate and abusing all the tools can cause burnout in all aspects and longer diet break period. It can set you back in a long time. Yeah, I agree with that. My approach for me personally is always just trying to get away with the least that I possibly can get away with.
Yeah.
That's how usually when I will do these strategic pushes, and so does Justin. Justin will do he'll run, and I've been messing around with this, where you'll take a few days and just go 0 carbs. Just, just short, 3 days. You take and then you put some food back in, or periodically putting in breaks from the fat burners. I like to take breaks from the fat burners on the high days. Sometimes sprinkle in an extra high day, or shorten the duration between the high days, and just have these strategic pushes.
Yeah, and I'd say if this guy's got just 2,500 calories as his maintenance, he's assuming, and he was bulking at 3,500, but nonetheless, if he's at 2,500 and he goes down 600 calories per day for the week, that's just over a pound drop by diet. Now, if that's all you've done alone, I think that's fine, to start off a prep, just going down 500 calorie deficit. I don't think that's crazy by any means.
I really only ever lose strength the last 3-4 weeks. And it's just like he was saying, the training at 15 plus reps down to 10 to 12 on the same exercise, and dropping the weight more for preservation and injury risk than anything. And I've put on 2 pounds of muscle in this prep, and same on my last one too. So for some reason I like to gain muscle in a caloric deficit. I don't know how that works, but
It's called Tren
and HGH.
in HGH.
Yeah.
I've only ever had one show where I gained weight, and that was last year. I put on weight. I ended up prep heavier than I was. I started. I just had a kid I coached to a national show that did the same. It's wild when it happens. Usually you got to start off lean though for that to happen.
And I did.
All right. What do we got up next, Amy?
Let's get this one from Mark X. Crum. Does low T and bottomed out E2 cause PSA levels to increase? Is it a logical explanation? I resumed TRT at 200 milligrams of test and PSA back to 1.8 from 4.1. Never this high until I stopped taking test.
There is some correlation between high estrogen and prostate cancer. You can look it up and look the studies up, but it is possible. I'm not a doctor, but that is a potential problem.
Well, they do also lower. They do have a method to shut off the connection from your pituitary to your testes, I believe, to lower your testosterone when you have prostate cancer. So sometimes that's a method they do. They'll actually shut off your testosterone when you have prostate cancer, so you don't enlarge the prostate any further.
But generally, increased PSA is associated with DHT. From what I understand. Once again, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, they just did that to my father. Actually, to share a little bit, my father has prostate cancer, and they just shut down. They gave him some sort of thing that shuts down his connection from his brain to his testes. They wanted to lower his testosterone to stop any enlargement of the prostate, to try to kind of control things there first before they go in and do any more treatments.
Yeah, I've heard of them using DHT blockers like finasteride as well.
You mean
it was
physically or with medication?
With medication. Yeah, with medication. It's like, I forget what it's called, GNHR or RH or something like that. It just shuts off the connection from the pituitary to the testes, I believe. I don't know much about it.
Brian Parsons says, David's generally Lupron.
Yeah, actually, I believe that's what it was called. There's a couple. There was like 3 that I was looking through, and I think that's the one they put him on. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't fuck around with a high PSA.
Yeah,
make sure you're staying on top of that and seeing a doctor.
Yeah.
All right, what's up next?
We have this question: high dosage 5 milligram Retta during a bulk, no problem to eat. Are there benefits?
I wouldn't. I don't know why you would run that high on a bulk.
Yeah.
I don't
I
see
think
any
he's
benefit.
I think he is already doing that.
I don't know.
Sounds like
yeah, maybe.
The benefits you can get is, just better glucose management, but I would just be dosing to get that effect rather than trying to get as much Retta I can use and still eat. You know what I'm saying? Use the right dosage. So if you don't need 5 milligrams to help maintain your glucose into a good spot, then I wouldn't go that high.
I've seen pretty profound effects just from 1 milligram on people's blood work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Mark says he said his PSA improved when he got back on TRT. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I have no idea. Could have been just a incorrect test. That's always a possibility too. People always think these tests are set in gold. I mean, they're not. I've seen inaccurate tests before. Could have been just a transient thing. You would, if your PSA was high, you would probably notice. You would have probably decreased urinary flow. There would be some irritation. You would know, I would think. maybe some prostate inflammation.
Yeah, if you're concerned, I'd talk with your doctor for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if it went back to normal, then I guess whatever. But yeah, I would definitely talk to your doctor. All right, what do we got up next?
Let's see. Sorry, we answered a couple of these. Let's do this one from Rise41. I think he just had to leave, but we're answering it. Hopefully, listen to the replay. Is a total anabolic load between 5 to 700 enough for gym bro purposes?
Sure, if you're making progress.
Dose dependent.
Yeah. So you're doing 500 tests and a couple hundred primo. That could be a pretty good gym bro cycle for sure.
This one is so funny. Someone thought I was a robot. I'm not.
Were you very still? Did you look like you're an AI character?
No.
I want to talk about this one. Sharp said, I wouldn't advise anyone to use a GLP-1 in the off season unless it's to modulate their A1C. The effects of GLP-1s are almost counterproductive for an off season. I would have agreed with you before Retta, but I have seen on low dose Retta just improvements in every single blood marker that gets skewed negatively on PEDs, like improved LDL, improved HDL, improved triglycerides, improved A1C, improved C-reactive protein. I mean, all these things that just get skewed and out of whack while you're on cycle. Look, I'm not saying run out and run at 1 milligram of Retta year round, but that's what I've seen. It seems to have a overall positive effect on blood markers that get skewed on PEDs. So it's something I wouldn't have considered a year ago and that I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah, and even if you're just using it for appetite, like right after a show, that's a pretty useful way to use a GLP-1. And that's what I did after my show, just because I knew I was going to be starving, is I just implemented some Retta and slowly backed off when the food started getting higher and higher. So there could be some uses. I just wouldn't shut down my I wouldn't slow down my digestion any more than I have to.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my concern with a GLP-1 in an off-season setting, is the slowed gastric emptying. That would be definitely a negative, especially as you get deeper into an off-season. I did not notice the gastric emptying to be an issue on Retta, and it has been horrible on the tirzepatide. I am like, it's like my digestion has drastically slowed down, and the appetite suppression on the tirzepatide is profound compared to the retatrutide. It is way more potent, and it also doesn't seem to have the same positive effect on my
A1C
glucose levels that the Retta did.
Well, I recently tried upping the Retta dose just to deal with what I felt like was an increase in hunger after being on this cut for a while, and what I found was that it didn't really do as much as I thought it would as far as the appetite suppression, but it did a lot as far as like the gastric emptying. So I was like, by meal 5, I'm full and I'm not like moving food through my system. So meal 5, meal 6, I'm going to bed with big round belly every night, and I'm like, yeah, this doesn't work. So I went back down to the same dose that I've been taking since I started it, and that 0.5 milligram 3 times a week seems to be like the magic number. I think anytime you push the doses, you open yourself up to all those side effects, and I think the low dose is the key. I think you take that year round if you wanted to.
Yeah, slow gastric emptying is not cool for bodybuilding.
No.
Not good.
No, especially at the end of contest prep. It's the last time you want to be slowing down your digestion.
Yeah, and into contest prep, gastric emptying fucking sucks as is anyway. You get all backed up at the end of prep.
Not fun.
Yeah, no, not fun. All right, what do we got up next?
Let's do this one from Brian Pulley. I'm 53, 6'1", and stuck at 230. What can I add in to pick up at least 15 more pounds? Only 150 milligrams of test per week. by my doctor. Well, 15 pounds of fat or 15 pounds of muscle, because you can pack on 15 pounds of fat pretty easy.
A lot more test. That's how growth hormone.
Yeah, adding in GH.
Primobolan, EQ. I mean, there's a lot of variables there. I mean, 53. I mean, I talk about this all the time. With it, people get they have unrealistic expectations when it comes to muscle gain. If you've never run a real cycle before, if you did up the doses like into this, what I would consider super physiological ranges north of 300 milligrams, you will see some growth. Adding growth hormone in would probably be a benefit. But we have to realize at 53, you're not going to be packing on 15 pounds of muscle in a short period of time. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have the, if you look at the progression of Nick Walker over a 10-year period of time, he averaged something like 8 pounds a year. Granted, that wasn't linear. That was more at the beginning and less over time. But we have the examples, and that's world class. So I wouldn't expect to gain 15 pounds of real contractile tissue in a short period of time at 61 or 53. Sorry, you're 6'1", same height as me. So I mean,
a genetic example you could pick there too.
Yeah, I mean, if you can put on 5 pounds in a year of real like stage weight at 53, that would be exceptional progress.
Yeah, I was going to say add in food and more time.
Food, time, training,
I don't know if you're using protocol. Maybe any growth hormone and more test.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Roman.
That's the thing. He says he wants to add 15 pounds. If he's not gaining any weight right now, adding 150 milligrams of test or going to 450 milligrams of test doesn't necessarily mean he's going to build more muscle if he doesn't provide the extra nutrients. Because if you want to gain weight, you should. So what ultimately drives weight is food, right? He's not gonna add any weight to his body by just taking more tests. He might look better and improve his composition. So he might still be 230 with less body fat, but actually increase his body mass, he needs to add more food. So if he's not gaining at all right now, I think step number one is add some food, see how your composition changes, and then if your composition changes for the worse, add extra drugs. You know what I mean?
Nope, that's exactly how I usually look at it. Someone hits a wall. If I feel I can improve their body composition, I'll add the drugs. If I feel that body composition's good and we want to drive the scale up, it's food. That's usually where I start there. But if he's looking to, just like you say, add some weight and see if it's going to accrue into muscle, you need some more time and more nutrients for sure. Be the first thing I do.
I want to grab this question real quick, if that's okay, Amy. Or go ahead, Roman. Did you have something else to add?
I just wanted to know if you agree, Paul and Mike and Amy.
Well, it depends on how fat the guy is right now. He could be 230 pounds in fat.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, then it wouldn't make any sense to add more food. I would make sure you're lean first.
Yeah, if body composition is good and he's 15% body fat ish, then it needs more food first, or it needs more drugs.
It's so hard to answer these questions. It's like someone asking, well, my car doesn't start. What am I supposed to do? It's like 15 scenarios why your car doesn't start.
Yeah.
It's like you could have no gas, your battery could be empty, some wires might be unattached. It's like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, need more info.
Your body's 100 times more complex than a car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I'm not gaining at expos that happens to me when I'm working a booth or something. It's like, Roman, I can't gain any weight. What am I supposed to do? Like, what the fuck? I don't
Eat
know.
Caribou.
I wanted to answer this one real quick. Joseph was asking, I wonder how much of the lipid improvements from Retta is the reduction of food causing that. I've got guys on controlled diets that are, everything's measured and weighed, and nothing has changed there. The addition of the Retta has like I've seen crazy drops in triglycerides and LDL. Like I'm talking about like half. And from what I understand, it's the glucagon agonist. You have a shift to lipolysis. It changes LDL metabolism and lipid metabolism in the liver. It seems to decrease ApoB containing particles. There's a bunch of other secondary effects of it. You can look at the studies on it. It seems to help with LDL clearance. From what I understand as well. So it seems to be specifically the glucagon agonist. Now, anytime you're going to have improved glucose metabolism, better insulin sensitivity, and better insulin production, that is also going to have an effect on lipids too. A lot of times, like when you see guys with elevated triglycerides, it's almost always some sort of insulin resistance or metabolic dysfunction that leads to that in most situations. So it does seem to be the combination of all three. Yeah, it's pretty profound. I've never seen anything outside of a statin work this effectively at affecting lipids. Now, I'm not advising everybody to go out and drop their statin and take it, but it seems in theory that it could replace multiple drugs. Like I could see guys eventually being able to dump statins, dump metformin, all these other drugs that people take, and the Retta could potentially replace all those. It's pretty fucking cool. I feel like I brag about it too much. I should watch it. It's going to end up causing me to grow a third eyeball or something. We'll find out here in 5 years down the road. It's still pretty new.
When you did that video, I heard it on at least 3 other podcasts, people talking about referencing that video and Retta. I think, it's just sparked a conversation about blood markers, and people are echoing your sentiment all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I wouldn't have believed it until I've seen it, and I've had like people reach out to me and send me their blood panels. I had a guy, I will keep him anonymous, but a guy that's a professional bodybuilder who's on contest prep and sent me his blood panels showing me how good his lipids were from just running 1 milligram. And he said they've never been like this on contest prep ever. And he was running quite a lot of steroids. I'm talking about 3 grams plus.
Well, I was going to say, it's pretty amazing the results you're getting from just such a short dosage too. You're not having to ramp up, 5 to 10 milligrams of Retta to get this improvement.
Just 1 milligram.
Yeah.
1 milligram seems to do it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right, Amy, what do we got?
There's a quick one from Raymond Matthew asking me, how's working with Tommy been so far? And it has been amazing. I switched to Tommy John for my coach we're in our 4th week, so just about a month. And I mean, to say it's been incredible is like an understatement. Like workouts have been game changing. Just everything has been amazing.
Good.
Incredible.
Cool.
So good.
And what phase are you in? You guys just trying to pack on a little bit of tissue right now, or you kind of
I feel kind of bad because I'm pretty deep into my off season at this point, so how I feel is a little bit different. I need to give it time with him for him to kind of get to know my body. So that's kind of where we're at. Just kind of seeing like how things go these first few weeks, really pushing the intensity in the gym. I mean, it's been great. Like it's kind of frustrating though, because I feel like I wasted a lot of time in my off season, especially based on how things have switched up with Tommy. So can't go back in time. So I'm just doing my best to like push as hard as I can right now, and just kind of being patient with myself and allowing him to kind of get to know me as well.
Yeah. Well, sometimes a switch up of just a different plan, a different routine, something different is going to give you that motivation and just push you a little further. It could be that catalyst that just gets the ball rolling again for you too. So probably going to be a positive in the long run for you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. already been incredible. So thank you for asking. It's a great. Yep. All right. So we got one from KW Pete 93 on SLU
Guys.
332.
You had it out.
We continue with the low dose.
Yeah. I got to go to the gym.
All right, Roman. Thank you for coming on.
Be good, dude.
Goodbye, guys. Thank you.
We'll see you
See you,
later.
bud.
He's going to miss the cereal question.
All right, we'll get one more in after this one. On SLU PP332, do you have to cycle on and off or continue at low dose? That we do not know. I would say it's probably not a good idea to take it perpetually or forever. I wouldn't think that would be smart. But we don't know what there really are no human studies on SLU PP332 that I am aware of. So we do not know what the long-term effects of taking it are. So I would proceed with caution. That would be my advice.
Dave, you've used a lot of it. Have you cycled, or have you just kind of stayed on one dose?
I've been on it consistently for probably close to 10 months now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so I can't say I've had any negatives, but I've had my dose cranked up to just a little over 1 milligram. And then right now I kind of resensitized myself down to like 250 micrograms, slowly throughout the prep, just kind of push it as needed. But I use it during the off season just to kind of help with trying to stay a little bit leaner and get a little bit more ATP turnover. So I haven't had any negatives, but like Paul says, that's just my experience. There's no real data to go off of anyhow. So time will tell. Unfortunately, a bunch of us are going to be the guinea pigs.
It seems like in theory it's probably pretty benign, but we just don't know. There's just a lot of really with a lot of the stuff we fuck around with. All we have is anecdote.
Well, it's like you thought
since we started my Emerald Cup prep, which is January.
Yeah.
That's good. Almost 6 months. Well, I think, like you say, it's probably the same with a lot of things, Paul. You said, the devil's in the dosage and duration too. I mean, if I was doing 5 milligrams a day, I'm sure that would not be beneficial for a long period of time either.
What's the axiom in toxicology? The poison is in the dose and duration. I think it goes along. I forget that there's a Latin term for it, but that's one of the things they preach in toxicology is anything is. Most things have a toxic dose. I mean, you can even fucking kill yourself from water.
Yeah.
You drink too much water, you can die.
Yeah.
It's a pretty high bar, but yeah, I mean, it is possible.
Didn't need to do that.
Amy's the star of the show now.
Yeah, I didn't mean to
It's
do
the
that.
all Amy show. All right, let's get one last one in, and then I got to wrap up.
One last one. Let's do this one then. Can you be addicted to pre-workout?
You can be addicted to picking your nose.
That's Connor. I don't know. I haven't been able to quit for years. So,
it's funny. I don't really use many pre-workouts. I use like more pump formula stuff, stuff with like L-citrate. I don't really use many stimulants pre-training anymore. Maybe I'll take like a cap of caffeine with my pump formula.
I still have Justin's. I have a bunch of Justin's pre-workouts sitting in my cabinet that I've just never used. I don't know. This is my pre-workout. Cup of coffee. It's usually what I do. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, you can get it's a stimulant. People get addicted to caffeine. I think it's the caffeine that's probably the most addictive thing. And quitting caffeine's really fucking hard. I'll take caffeine breaks now and then, and man, it's like you go through full-blown withdrawal and shit when you stop taking it.
I've done it.
Yeah, I think it's good too to try to resensitize yourself, because you start taking like a half a scoop, then you get a full scoop, and then before you know it, you're on 400, 500 milligrams of caffeine just pre-workout, in the evening, and you don't sleep well. So, I mean, it depends on how you react, but being physically used to it or feeling like you physically needed to power through a workout is probably not a good thing. So if you get to the point where you're like, I'm dragging ass in the gym because I didn't have my 500 milligrams of caffeine, that's not going to be good.
Yeah, Tanya said coffee is nice. I mean, I like coffee or an energy drink. That's usually what I do.
Yeah, I like a good pump formula with a little caffeine. That's it.
Yeah. Humalog is my pre-workout.
Little Anavar.
little Anavar.
Yeah.
I forgot what steroids are like. I don't take them anymore.
Oh,
I need to get Colton on. He's like Mr. Natty now.
It's
Oh,
in
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I
I've
saw
seen
him.
some of the stuff recently, and he actually has some pretty good reasoning around for himself anyway why he's doing it.
I mean, it's probably the smart approach.
Mm.
We're all dummies doing what we do.
Wait,
But goddamn, I love it.
What is he just doing, like some TRT, or is he done with his?
I think he's off completely, isn't he?
Oh,
No, I
gotcha.
think he's just on TRT dose.
Or maybe it's TRT. I don't know. Yeah.
But just don't turn into that guy who quits smoking and runs around telling everybody how they're going to kill themselves if they don't quit smoking. Or
Yeah.
of course, I guess I'm dating myself with that reference because everybody quit smoking a long time ago.
Yeah, they all quit smoking a long time ago. I don't know. I'm not a big on telling people what they should and shouldn't do. I'm a huge for body sovereignty. Like, just whatever, man. If you want to fucking eat cheeseburgers, smoke cigarettes, and have craft brews, rock on with yourself. Do you. Just stay in your lane and don't. That's the irony. Like that always cracks me up. The dudes that always are lecturing me about steroids being bad. I literally had a guy the other day when I had a picture up, and he's like, I wouldn't listen to this steroid addict, and then he had pictures of cheeseburgers and pot plants on his Instagram page. I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me?
Personal
Okay.
freedom is one thing, and that's a pretty strong argument. But there's also there's not too many bodybuilders who are becoming a burden on the public healthcare system, where I think obesity and alcohol abuse are probably 90% of the burden on the public healthcare system.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell people this. I've never heard of anybody going to rehab for growth hormone and testosterone.
Very true.
Never heard of anybody knocking over a liquor store from doing contest prep. Just saying.
Unless you got to afford that Serostim, then you never know.
Most guys that I contest prep and coach are usually high performing, mostly successful people is what I've seen.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
Well, they won't rob a store, but they'll set up a GoFundMe for their preps.
I was kind of shocked at the GoFundMe things, but hey, I guess you do what you got to do.
I got no problem. If somebody wants to throw a couple bucks to support somebody to get them to do their show, go for it. It's your money. Do as you please.
Yep. I'm all for live and let live. Just do your things. As the old folks, my dad, in his many words of redneck wisdom, he used to always tell me, like, I'd be like pissed off about something somebody else was doing, and he'd look at me and he'd just say, stay in your fucking lane.
No. Wise.
Just stay in your fucking lane. Don't worry about what that dude's doing. Doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. There's some people that could hear that lesson. All right, folks, that's all I got for you on this one. We appreciate each and every one of you, even the negative trolls. I love you too. You probably need a hug and love more than anybody else does here. But overall, our audience is great. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.